Hey everybody, Jake here. I'm really excited to come to you with another episode of Cool Shit You Can Deduct. We've got an amazing guest with us today, Mr. Darren Jacklin. I'm going to introduce him here in a minute, but we're really excited. So we're getting really good feedback from the show. We want to continue to bring this content to you guys. It's actually really fun for me to talk about this stuff. So selfishly, I really enjoy it here. Jump right into it. I want to introduce Darren Jacklin, and I've known Darren for quite a few years now, 3 or 4 years, I would say. We met at one of our mastermind groups that we go to. When I say this guy is incredible, like he is incredible. For over 23 years, he's traveled 4 continents. He's personally trained and developed like over 1 million people. He's got an uncanny ability to increase wealth and success by uncovering hidden assets, unlooked opportunities, and undervalued possibilities. Darren currently sits on paid international boards of directors and advisory boards of public and private companies. His experience has led to advising small private American residential real estate companies to grow to internationally recognized publicly traded companies on the NASDAQ. That is so incredible. So you're also a philanthro investor. I want to hear a little bit about that. You're committed to expanding your cash flow investment portfolio. And you've also got a foundation, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. We have a family foundation. We've committed $100 million over the next decade towards global philanthropy projects. Currently, we have our first school called the Link Leadership Academy over in Liberia, West Africa. Over 300 children from preschool to grade 6. It's our pilot school. We plan to build more schools across the African continent to bring education to underprivileged areas of the world.
That's so awesome. I want to hear a lot about that. I'm really glad to have you on the show today because we're going to talk about my world, which is taxes. But yeah, I love just how excited you are about life and about everything. So I figured this would be fun. But then you're all about giving back too. You've obviously been really successful in business, very successful in life. But every time we talk to you, you're always referencing some sort of foundation or new project where you guys can give back. So I just kudos to you. I think that's really incredible. So we're gonna start off. I got to tell you guys, obviously the show's called Cool Shit You Can Deduct. We got to talk about some cool shit that you can deduct. Darren, I gave you a little teaser before the show, but I'm so incredibly proud of my wife. She actually started a new business for us here just last week.
That's awesome.
Wait till you hear about it. It's even better. She started a new business. It's called RV Travelers LLC. And what she did is she went out and bought a camper, one of these like pull behind the truck, 32 feet long, parked out in front of our house right now. It looks a lot bigger in the driveway than it did like at the dealership, but this thing's awesome. It's brand new. It's got like the new nice countertops. It's got the USB plugs everywhere and all that kind of stuff. What she's going to do is she's actually going to rent it out. So she started a business. She started an LLC, set up her own business bank account, got a business credit card, purchased the business asset under the business, right? She was able to get it for $0 down and a very low monthly payment.
Oh, great.
Great, right? Then also, we can't park it in front of our house because of the HOA or whatever. So went and found a place that we can keep it when it's not being used. But the sole purpose of buying this is so she can rent it out. She did a bunch of research and there's all kinds of websites, similar to like Airbnb and VRBO for houses, but for campers and RVs and all these people that are traveling everywhere. And this thing will rent for about $150 a night all over, we'll start in Florida. Who knows what'll end up happening. We're going to be able to rent this thing out easily. She's already got it booked on there, already getting interest on it. So what'll happen is we'll rent this thing out. It'll more than pay for itself for the monthly payment. When it comes tax time, we'll be able to depreciate the value of the asset on our tax return, just creating an amazing business opportunity. And these are the things that we like to talk about on the show here. And this was my wife, actually. I was so proud. She did all the research. She went out and did this all on her own.
Well, the great thing about this is the entrepreneurial spirit, right? It's about a mindset. Like I'm not opposed to people buying toys and luxury cars, all that stuff. Just don't pay for it. Like I just ordered a high-end luxury vehicle here 6 months ago. When I went to the dealership, I was dream building.
Did you get the Rolls Royce?
I didn't do a Rolls Royce, but I did another super nice vehicle. And when I went in there, I thought, I'd like to get this vehicle, but I'm not going to pay for it. See, here's the thing. Successful people don't pay for things. What we do is we look at how to solve problems in the marketplace and create multiple revenue streams that are either active or passive. So I like what she did. She created an LLC. She created a business, right, from home, made it all up, right? Just imagine it, dreamed it, conceptual idea.
She did all this on her own. I came home one day and she had them. I was like, wow, that's a great plan. Why didn't I think of that?
Absolutely. The cool thing about this is that she can create this into an income producing asset. I'll give you a quick example. I was in country of Monaco a few years ago before COVID-19 broke out. And I was having, at the Fairmont Hotel, I was having dinner with a multi-billionaire. And this guy owns a super yacht, $400 million yacht, costs about $50 million a year, US dollars, for all the taxes, maintenance, insurance, and employee costs to operate the yacht. So I'm sitting there, just him and I, there's nobody else, just him and I, one-on-one, having a couple hour long dinner. And I want to get into this multi-billionaire's mindset, right? How does he think? Because we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. There's no lack of money on this planet. There's an overflowing financial abundance. People have money problems because we're looking for allocation. So I'm sitting there with this guy and I said to him, I said, you have a $400 million super yacht, 2 helicopter pads on it. I'm just trying to make sense of how do you do this? Not 1, but 2 helicopter pads.
That's great.
And he looks at me and he says, you know, Darren, I don't pay for that super yacht. I'm like, what do you mean you don't pay for it? He goes, no, it's an income producing asset on my balance sheet. He said, what I did is I took a couple of years and I was traveling around the world networking with decision makers and high influential people. And it was just like the International Space Station. You have different astronauts from different countries that are up there, and the governments fund these projects for research and development. Just think about this for a moment. If we're a bunch of researchers and we're studying the oceans around the world, we've got to get into a boat. We got to go out in the ocean. We got to do our research and our study, then get back before dark, find our hotels, get a place to eat, have a hot shower, go to bed, do it all again the next day. It's very inefficient. It's not the best and highest use of our time. So he says, I thought, what if I could solve a problem by creating a virtual on the ocean super yacht that could be a research center? So it's not a super yacht, it's a research vessel.
It's not his personal vessel, right? It's not for him to go on vacation on.
It's a research vessel. So it's not a super yacht, it's a research vessel. And he generates money from different countries around the world who give him money as cash flow to fund this. Now, 10 months out of the year, they circumnavigate the planet doing research in this think tank. And 8 weeks out of the year, 2 months of the year, his family gets to go on there. So the key thing is, it's the mindset. And this is why I love shows like this, is that we can educate and inform people to change the way you think. Because when you see, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. If we go to Google right now behind you and we type in on Google, why am I stupid? I'll put up on Google why you're stupid as a human being. If you type in why am I a genius and hit search on Google, I'll become why you're a genius. You might buy some products and services and some supplements and things like that to try and study to increase your brain function. But the key thing is that most people talk about news, weather, sports, and traffic. Just think about the mass consciousness of the planet. Next time you're on the subway, you're in a coffee shop, you're in a restaurant, you're in a lounge, people are talking about news, weather, sports, and traffic. So it's about changing the conversation to say, hey, how can we deduct cool shit? How can I turn my home into an income producing asset? When I'm driving to work, how can I create multiple revenue streams of income? It's not about money. It's about freedom. I love making a ton of money, and I do, but I like freedom because I like to go wherever I want, whenever I want, whoever I want. I like to go. People always ask me, go, Darren, what time do you go to bed at night? I say, I go to bed when I'm tired. They go, what time do you wake up? When I'm done sleeping. And they go, how do you do that? I said, consistently. See, that's choice. That's life by design. And money is a tool. Money is good and money is also bad. It's how you use it as a tool. We can build bombs and create wars, or we can do philanthropy and do good things on the planet. It's a choice and who you choose to hang around. Money comes in all different shades of green, right? You got to choose what shade of green. You want to get around all with drug money? That's a different shade of green. You want to get around philanthropy money? Different shade of green. You want to get around building churches and hospitals and schools? Different color of money. So you got to choose as you're out there in the economy, what shade of color of green of Ben Franklin's do you want to collect? Because I don't make money. I collect money. I build companies to collect money to generate cash flow, to pay for my lifestyle, profit for people. It's profit for people. So I love making a lot of money so that we can do good in the world. Profit for people.
Love that. Darren, let me dig into that a little bit. So you said you don't make money, you collect money. So talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of people think that there's this big pile somewhere. There's like a mountain of money, and once somebody snags it up, it's all gone. But that's not the case, right? You can create wealth, you can create money out of thin air a lot of times, right?
I'll give you an example. I'll go back to my childhood. So I created my first business when I was 7 years old called Rent a Kid, and I grew up in a small city.
Okay. It might get you in trouble these days, but I want to hear about it. So
yeah, I grew up in a city of less than 20,000 people in population, right? And I just looked around my neighborhood and looked at solving a problem. See, we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. There's no lack of money. It's a lack of thinking. If you want to make more money, just go serve people, right? Be on a man on a mission or a woman on a mission. Go serve people and solve problems for the people. Listen, if you got problems with your teeth, you go to a dentist, right? If you don't take care of your teeth and preventive things, you're going to pay more. Same as a plumber, electrician, a chiropractor, massage therapist, reflexologist, acupuncturist. These people are all in the service business, solving a problem for people. So the thing is, you want to make more money, go solve a problem. That's what it is. So with my Rent-A-Kid, I looked around my neighborhood and said, okay, great. Whose lawns can I mow? What odd jobs can I do? I grew up where there's snow, so can I shovel the driveways? Can I walk the dog? Can I deliver newspapers? Can I pull weeds? So when I'm driving around, when I watch the news media, I'm not watching for the entertainment or the negativity. I'm looking at what we call opportunity zones.
Yeah.
What are the opportunity zones? COVID-19 Man, I did very, very well in COVID-19.
Yeah.
My net worth just soared, all that stuff. And people say, why? Because I was prepared, because every 8 to 10 years, we go through peaks and valleys. We go through different seasons of life, right? Some people right now that are watching the show, you might be in winter. Things are challenging for you. In your personal life, things are tough. You're in the season of winter. Some of you right now, you're like, opportunities starting to unfold and new discoveries and that. You're in springtime. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, man, it's just rock and roll in my life right now. And some of you are in the fall, which is harvest time, and like things are just cranking for you. So everybody's in a different season of life. And that's what I ask people to look at. It's a season. It's a window of your time, window of your life. Could be a month, could be 2 months, could be 3 months, could be 4 months, could be a long winter, but realize you're only in a season.
I love it. I love that. I love that. I could talk about this all day long. So back to your billionaire buddy with the yacht. We got to get this guy booked on the show so he can tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can work on that afterwards, but too cool. So tell me a little bit. I know you're an investor in a company called Profitopia, and they're doing this thing right now with the employee retention credit. Why don't you tell me about that real quick?
Well, my partner, we all know this guy. This guy here.
Oh, look at that.
Expert. Kevin Marshall is a CPA, 35 years, based in Tucson, Arizona. He wrote a book. It's a real thin book. You can read in like 20, 30 minutes because it's not full of fluff or filler. It's just practical, right? 20, 30 minutes. Tax credits are sexy. Most people, I'm just speculating here, but I'm going to throw some numbers out. I'd say 75 to 80% of the business population of the United States of America have never heard of the Employee Retention Credit, ERC. You walk down the street, you're in an airport, you ask people, hey, you go to a Chamber of Commerce or a Rotary Club meeting or an EO meeting, most people have never heard of the Employee Retention Credit. This is a key thing about importance of getting around people who are smarter than you, building a life team, building a dream team, creating an inner circle of like-minded people. I always say I'm the dumbest person in my Darren Jacklin group of companies in my family foundation. I'm the dumbest guy because I just surround myself with a collective
smarter people that are smarter than you, right?
Exactly. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room because you're not going to stand on the shoulders of giants and grow and develop. So with Profitopia, we're a national virtual accounting, tax planning, auditing, bookkeeping firm. We're focused on acquisitions right now of acquiring other kind of firms because we're solving a big problem across the USA right now. Between now and the year 2030, over 100,000 licensed CPAs are going to retire as baby boomers. And they need a transition plan. They need an exit strategy. They need a succession plan. So we're focused on acquiring right now accounting firms across the USA, rolling them up into the parent company, which is Profitopia, but really serving people. And we're different. We're a different kind of tax planning, bookkeeping, accounting business because what we do is we focus on empowering the client, developing the client, because what's the thing about business? Attracting great clients and retaining great clients, attraction and retention. So we focus on attraction. We also focus on retention. We've got some great secret sauce that we use within Profitopia to serve our client, to turn them into raving fans so that we bring accounting back and tax preparation and planning to be sexy because it's dry and boring. It's like watching wet paint dry.
I'm going to call you after the podcast and steal some of that or borrow some of that secret sauce from you that you're talking about there. I love that.
Because, at the end of the day, we're in the people business.
Yeah.
People got to get to know us. They got to get to like us. And they got to get to trust us. So we build relationship equity by becoming relational versus transactional. Most of the business today is transactional. Unfortunately, I look at the new generation, and when I speak at college, universities, and schools, I say, listen, you got to build relationships. You got to pick up the phone and call people. You got to go knock on doors. Don't hide behind a computer and a keyboard. Get out there and have conversations with people so people get to know you and like you and trust you. So you build that relationship equity with people.
I love that. I love it. And so this employee retention credit, we don't need to go into the details, but we've actually set up. Yeah. We've actually set up a site you can go to. It's www.actionerc.com. That's actionerc.com. Put in your information. It'll route you right to somebody, and they'll be able to tell you if you qualify or not. Yeah. But I know even with our company, Action Accounting, we've had clients qualify for hundreds of thousands of dollars of credits. And it's crazy. Like you said, 9 out of 10 people don't even know this thing is out there. Profitopia, they're the company that we've partnered with to help all of our customers. And Kevin Marshall, I don't know if you see, but I have his book here too. I was looking for it. I was going to hold it up too. I know I've got a copy. It's funny because he gave me about 25 copies and now they're randomly in the offices and in my desk. So I see Kevin's face everywhere I go now. I'm like, Well,
the cool thing is that, the thing is most people, there's blind spots. We all have blind spots. And I always share this when, my background for 23 years, travel the world, was a very successful corporate trainer globally. And I would go in and talk to decision makers and business owners and say, listen, 95% of what you're doing in terms of day-to-day operations, you're doing it accurately and correctly. The 5% is your blind spot, what you're missing. And the thing is, what I love is, with Profitopia, we've generated over $10 million in the ERC program for clients now across the United States.
That's incredible. Yeah.
This is unfound money, right? That they would never know. Stimulus money people would never ever know. But
So wait, would you say you didn't create that money? You just collected it for the clients,
from the IRS.
right?
We collect it from the IRS, right? So the key thing with this is the thing is it's about who you get around. Proximity is power. It's not what you know, it's who you know, it's who you have access to. And that's why it's important in our busy lives that you protect your time, you qualify your time, but also you schedule in your calendar. Hey, every month or every quarter, I got to talk to my CP. I got to talk to my accountant. I got to talk to a wealth manager. I got to talk to my financial team. And you got to review. You got to become intimate with your finances. 78% of the North American population live paycheck to paycheck. 78%. The average American doesn't have access to more than $400 liquid cash.
Wow.
Yeah, they're paycheck to paycheck. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a problem. I want to disrupt that because I think that we need to educate and inform more people about how to get their money right, how to get their financial house in order. So that we have to rely on all these payday loan places and these pawn shops and these credit repair companies. We don't need those people. We need to financially educate people to become intimate with their finances by watching these shows and getting some tips and tools and techniques and nuggets to help them. And that's why one of the things I share with people all the time is about the how and the who. You'll love this. As we grow up and we're trained and developed in school systems, public and private schools, we're trained to figure out things by ourselves. That's the old way of doing things. Change your minds on that. The how and the who. People always say, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to figure this out? How am I going to get this money? How am I going to earn more money? How am I going to do this? Stop with the how. Take out your mobile phone and look at who can I call? Who can I serve? Who do I have access to right now that I can work this out and unfold this? That's the key thing. Who can I put on speed dial right now that can problem solve this? It's called the how and the who conversation. And when I see people when they're stuck in analysis paralysis,
I love that.
People when they're indecisive, and I see people that are in, overwhelm and depression and stress and anxiety because they're trying to figure out how do I solve this problem? How do I figure this out versus saying, who can I call? Who can I go for breakfast, lunch, or dinner with and work this out and collaborate with them through a collective intelligence? So it's the how and the who conversation. I see it all the time.
So I love this. This is like in school, they call that cheating, right? Like if you were like, hey, let's team up, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? Like you would get in trouble, right? You get sent to detention. At least I would.
Or in business, we call it collaboration because here's the thing to consider.
Yeah.
Most of your goals and dreams do not require your action. Now, when I share that with people, most people's light bulbs just go, what do you mean? Most of my goals and dreams do not require my action. They don't. It's required teams and teamwork. See what I do, I have a whole portfolio of companies throughout North America and international. I'm an investor in multiple companies, I have a family foundation, but I'm not actively involved. I'm the visionary, not the integrator. I'm not involved in the day-to-day operations, right? I have smart people running those day-to-day operations of those assets. And that's the key thing to look at is that you can be the worker bee, and there's nothing wrong with it. We need millions of people to do that, or you can be, some people are the visionary and some people are the integrator, okay? And so the key thing is a lot of times people have ideas, but they don't know how to execute on those ideas. And the key thing is, they're going back to the how. How do I do this? How do I figure this out? How do I solve this? Stop with the how. Start thinking, who can I collaborate with? Go to a shared workspace place. If you live in a major city, start, take out a membership. Go to a place where
meet dozens of people just in the first couple of days. Yeah.
Get around people. Like people always say to me, man, I'm financially broke. Great. Well, you're hanging out with broke people. I used to hang out with 4 financially broke people. I was the 5th person.
Yep.
So, you don't have to go out and make money. You have to get around people who've already made money and find a way to be in service as a fair means of exchange of value and solve a problem. Every person, the bigger the game you play in life, the more problems you got in life, challenges. And guess what? Successful people spend money to save time. Unsuccessful people waste time to save money. So get around people who are making a lot more money than you, find a way to provide value and service and solve a problem, and you'll get handsomely paid for it as a fair means of exchange when you're allowing yourself to be open to receiving. But you first of all got to value yourself. Can I share a story with you about money?
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. So back in 2007, I was financially struggling building my corporate training business. I was making $200 a day plus my living allowance or per diem. I got invited to a private mastermind group. I got dragged there. I didn't want to go because I was hustling and grinding.
Kicking and screaming. Well, you probably thought in your head, like, I don't have time to go to this. Like, I don't have the money to go to this.
I got to make my nut. I'm trying to pay my bills on time, right?
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine drags me to this basement of this radio station for a mastermind group. And there's probably maybe a dozen people in there, different industry, different businesses, different age groups of men and women, with majority men that are really successful and influential in the community. So I go there and I'm watching this for a couple hours. And at the end, about a half an hour, 40 minutes to the end, they have a hot seat. And they choose one of the members to sit in the hot seat, be uncomfortable, put all their cards on the table, full transparency, full authenticity and vulnerability, and just pour their heart out what's working or not working in life, where are they stuck, where are they confronted, what's not working in their personal life, and they allow themselves for coaching and feedback and mentorship from the group, from the other members. So anyways, they're asking members to jump into the hot seat. Nobody's volunteering. So they look at me as the guest. They're like, Darren Jacklin.
This guy will do it. Yeah, get in there.
I'm not coming in. I'm just a spectator here. I'm just sitting up in the stands.
I didn't even want to come here in the first place, right?
Yeah, I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm just watching. So they persist, and finally I give in and I sit in the hot seat.
Something tells me, Darren, it wouldn't be that hard to convince you, because you get excited. You're like, oh, all right, I'll do it.
I didn't have the self-confidence, and I had a big ego. My self-image was hurt back then. And when I was, I've really learned something about human behavior. When I'm making money, I was always out in public. When I was struggling financially, you wouldn't find me. It was really kind of interesting. Oh, Darren's got some money right now. Oh, he's out in public. He's out eating in restaurants. He's going to movie theaters. He's going to shows. Oh, Darren's got no money. He must be broke right now.
Yeah, he's hiding.
Behavior never lies, right? So what happened was I go to this mastermind, and the guy says to me, he says, can I ask you a question? So yeah, he goes, how much do you get paid a day? And I said, I get paid $200 a day. He goes, how do you live on that? So what do you mean how I live on that? And I said, that's what I charge for corporate trainings, $200 a day. And there's a valuable life lesson I'm going to unpack for your listeners. This will remember this story for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
He says to me, you should make $200 a day. He goes, when you walked into this, I perceived you as somebody making a lot more money than that. And I said, my dream is to earn $500 a day. Man, if I could live that, I'm living the dream, $500 a day, right, for doing corporate training. He goes, I'm going to challenge you. I said, okay. He goes, I want you to start asking for $10,000 a day plus travel expenses for your corporate training services. And I look at him like, go pound sand, buddy. Like,
that'll never work.
Like, listen, let's drink the Kool-Aid together and sing Kumbaya. Like, let's hold hands, have a group hug and sing Kumbaya. Like, what a bunch of crap that you just said. $10,000 a day, buddy. You're smoking something that I don't want to get involved with, because you have no idea what, that's a bunch of BS. Like, what a bunch of crap. He looks at me and goes, listen, I'm not going to argue and fight you for your limitations. So I'm not going to go back and forth and argue and fight you for your limitations. I'm going to invite you right now and challenge you that next month you come back here, you report to this mastermind group that you've at least made a request. When people ask you how much for your service, you say $10,000 a day plus travel expenses, and you shut up. I'm like, yeah, right. He goes, are you going to accept my challenge? Are you going to man up and accept my challenge? I said, listen, buddy, I don't even make $10,000 in a month. I don't even make $10,000 in a quarter, in 3 months. There's no way that my industry is going to pay me $10,000 in 1 day for corporate training. You have to understand my industry. This doesn't make any sense. You have no idea what you're talking about. And he goes, listen, I'm more successful than you. I run a multi-million-dollar businesses. I said, listen, that's great. That works in your industry. It doesn't work in my industry.
You're fighting. You're like fighting back on him, right?
So he said, listen, we're wasting time here. Do you accept my challenge? Yes or no? Let's get to the bottom line. I said, fine, I'll take it on. He goes, good, you're going to be tested. So we wrapped up the mastermind meeting. I'm thinking, okay, what a bunch of crap, right? So I leave.
What a waste of my time. What a waste of my money.
Yeah, a bunch of kumbaya, right? A bunch of rah-rah, 2 days later, I get a telephone call from an oil and gas company here in North America. They call me up and they said, Darren, this is a vice president of a company. He said, Darren, about 18 months ago, I met you at a corporate training event. My executives, my management team really loved you. We're looking at doing a quarterly offsite for our senior executive team at a retreat center. We'd love to bring you in as a corporate trainer for our quarterly offsite. What do you charge for a day? Now, I got to be full disclosure for something. There's something I left out in this conversation with this mastermind group. They challenged me, and if I can just be full transparency right now, the members challenged me that if I was scared to ask for $10,000, I had to reach down and start grabbing my balls. Pain or pleasure.
All right.
And I'm like, okay. So me, I'm a man of integrity, because without integrity, nothing works. So if I give my word to someone, I got to honor my word and follow through, because I'm only as good as my word. Because most people say talk is cheap. Well, I think most people cheapen their talk. So I'm a man of my word. And he told me, you're going to get tested. So I'm thinking, okay, kind of like a mystery shopper. Someone's going to test me. So
later, like it's just one of these guys giving you a hard time or something.
Yeah.
Huh?
So I get this phone call 48 hours later. I'm thinking, okay, I know what's going on. They're testing me. They've got some guy with an oil and gas company call me up.
Okay.
They're gonna test me and maybe record the conversation, and then I got to report back, and it's an integrity test. Okay, I know where this is going. I know how they're playing this game, but I'm gonna win because I don't like to lose. Right? I want to win. So the thing is, I'm on the phone, and the guy says, how much for a day of corporate training for a quarterly offsite? And I pause and I get really scared. I start shaking. I start sweating. I'm like really anxious and nervous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, But I'm thinking if this call is recorded, I got to put it up there. So I started squeezing my balls for real. Start squeezing. Full disclosure. I started squeezing, right? Pain or pleasure. And I said $10,000 because it's starting to hurt really bad. $10,000. And he goes, done. My executive assistant will call you back within 2 hours. We'll send you a FedEx with a certified check within 24 hours with a tracking number. The other $5,000 we paid to you within 4 months. We do the quarterly offsite next quarter. I'm like, yeah, right. There's the check's in the mail. Oh, sure,
yeah. There you go.
Mail, right. So I'm like, okay, yeah, right. Anyways, 2 hours goes by. Sure enough, 40 minutes later, the executive assistant calls me, wants to get my mail address for FedEx. And they FedEx. So that night I'm on FedEx.com.
You're like doing the tracking number over and over and over. Yeah.
So check this out. The story gets even better. Here's where the life lessons are. This is powerful. Okay. So next day I get a $5,000 certified check. So here's the interesting thing. Okay. So I'm struggling to pay my bills on time. I owe some money. I got some friends I borrowed money from. So I'm like, oh my gosh, the check's coming tomorrow morning by FedEx. So I start making phone calls to friends and family and people I owe money to. And like, listen, I've got some money coming in. I need to meet up with you tomorrow night and get you paid up, get you cashed up because, my money's overdue on you.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm making these phone calls, get my life back in integrity. So anyways, the next day, the FedEx arrives, which I've never been so excited to see a FedEx truck in my life. FedEx
like, oh my God, it's here.
I'm ready to give them a hug, right? Get the FedEx, get the check, open it up. There's a check there. I run down to the bank. Okay. The bank looks at the check. They'd never seen a check from me for $5,000.
They're like, who is this guy with his check like this? Huh?
But guess what they did? They put a 5-day business hold on my check. To make sure the check
no. Because they're not used to that large of deposits, right?
Correct.
Bank
so now I got to phone back and restore my integrity and phone back all these people and say, listen, I overpromised here. I got to recommit and renegotiate here a new promise to you. And in 7-8 days now, I can come by. So anyways, 4 months goes by. I go back to do the quarterly offsite for this oil and gas company. We're having a phenomenal time doing corporate training. At the end of the day, the decision maker, so the team is going off, there's 11 or 12 of them, they're going off to do a whitewater rafting trip. It's a team building exercise. The gentleman wants to take me for a debrief about today's event, corporate training session. So we're walking down this riverbank and these beautiful mountains. We're walking down this riverbank. He's got a cigarette out of his mouth, Players Light cigarettes here. And my check's in here for $5,000, which by the way, that money's already been spent too. Right? That 10 grand is gone. Right. I had some debt I had to pay care of.
So you deposited it, but then kept the check just so you could carry it around to feel good. There you go.
I'm walking down the riverbank, and here's where my life changed. And this gentleman with a cigarette out of his mouth, real redneck guy, he looks at me and goes, Darren, I got a question to ask you. 4 months ago, when I called you up on the telephone and I asked you how much for a day of corporate training, why'd you tell me $10,000? First thing goes through my mind, he's dissatisfied with the corporate training service. He wants a refund.
He's going to kill me. Yeah.
Man, the money's been spent. I don't have 10 grand. He's going to have to sell my kidney. I don't have the 10 grand.
If you guys like out in the woods or something at this point?
We're in the forest. We're in the Canadian Rockies. We're near.
So you're like, you're like freaking out. This guy's going to, off me in the woods or something.
Rockies, right? Near Banff National Park. So we're in the Canadian Rockies, and he says, why did I asked you for a day of corporate training? How much? $10,000. And I'm freaking scared, but I'm like a duck on top of the water, nice and prim and proper. Underneath my feet are pounding. And I'm trying to remain calm and conscious and not sweat and not have anxiety and stress and just try to be humble and calm and my breathing and be grounded in the earth. And right. So I looked at him, I said, you know what? I feel I earned the $10,000. I think the team today was very satisfied with what we did. The evaluations will speak for itself. When you get the evaluations here in the next couple of days from the team, he looks at me and goes, I'm going to give you some feedback. I said, okay. He goes, you need to learn how to negotiate. You need to how to value yourself. He goes, you just piss me off, guys like you. And I'm like, what the heck? Right? This guy's really riled up. He goes, when I asked you how much for a day of corporate training, you told me $10,000. If you would have said anything under $10,000, I would have hung up the telephone and you would have wasted my time. You would never heard from me again because I will never put somebody in front of my people who's worth less than $10,000. He goes, you know what? When I asked you how much for a day of corporate training, you should have said, what are you paying to work? What's it worth to you? What's your budget in your company for something like this for a quarterly offsite? He goes, you know what, Darren? I was willing to pay you $25,000 for the day, plus first class travel expenses.
That's the number he had in his head of what he thought you would cost.
$25,000. Listen, 4 months ago, I'm making $200 a day, trying to make sense to make $500 a day. Guy challenges me to ask for $10,000 a day. I'm thinking the guy's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's nuts. 4 months later, a redneck guy, an executive with an oil and gas company, sees me, perception of value, that I'm worth $25,000 a day, because he's looking at return on investment. He's looking at ROI of putting me in front of those people, training, developing them. What's the return on investment he's going to get? How does he make sense of his 25 grand? What's his ROI? 3, 4, 5x return on that money? And he goes, and he reaches into his pocket, he hands me the check, because I hope you learned today that you left $15,000 on the table. And he goes, Darren, sometimes people believe more in you than you believe in yourself.
Wow.
Learn to value yourself and declare what you're worth. Because when you declare what you're worth, the universe or God or the creator, whatever you believe, will reward you handsomely. Let's go back to the campfire. And that redneck decision maker changed my life.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that
the next
story.
month to the mastermind group, and I wanted.
Did you go tell them that story?
I did, and they give me a stand ovation. They clap. I broke down crying.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. I never, because I didn't believe in myself. I thought I was a fake and a fraud. I thought I'd be a fake and a fraud. Asking me $10,000 for a day corporate. Man, I don't have a university or college degree. I don't have a PhD. I never went to Harvard. I barely passed public high school. Who am I to go in and ask for $10? I'm ripping people off and taking advantage of people. That was all my mind chatter. That was all my story going on in my head.
It's awesome. I absolutely love it.
Changed my life that day.
Dude, thank you for sharing that, man. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the show. So we started off, talking about how to deduct travel trailers, proud of my wife for starting the new business. Then we go to, what'd you say, a $400 million yacht?
Super yacht, yeah.
$400 million research vessel, sorry.
Research vessel.
And then stories like that about just like, and I think that's really common, right? People don't understand their value. People don't understand how much value they have to give to the world, and they're afraid to unleash it. So like
even with writing things off, people say, well, I can't do that. That's against the law, or I'm breaking rules, or, that's against the IRS tax code. But you haven't ran it past somebody who's a certified professional accountant, the CPA, somebody who went to school, who's up to date and intimate with the tax code, who can research and verify things to be accurate and true, because you're not soundboarding off of a team of people around you in your inner circle.
And so for you, with your story, if you would have never ended up in that room with that group of guys who challenged you, right? Which you thought, oh, these guys are crazy. These guys are full of shit, Can you imagine what your life would be like? What's that, 15 years ago, basically, you said, right?
2007. Yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
So the key thing is now with people, when they're looking at cool shit to deduct, people, people say, well, I can't do that. Well, how do you know? Have you ran it past your CPA? Have you ran it past somebody who's doing much better than you?
Or is it a lot of times, not to interrupt you, but a lot of times it's not that, hey, we can't do that. It's, hey, we can't do it that way, but we can do it this way. That's the biggest difference. There's a ton of gray area in what we do. Yeah.
How do you structure things? How do you, collaboration with like-minded people is so important, but a lot of people want to do things by themselves, because here's the thing about being a human being. We all want to look good and we don't want to look bad. Just think about people's awareness, right? How many times throughout the waking hours of the day do we want to look good and we don't want to look bad? We do this dance in our head all the time. We want to look good, not want to look bad. Right? We want to protect ourselves with our self-image. Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Everything's fine, right? Whereas people don't realize that, once or twice a year, sit down with a CPA, sit down with someone and say, hey, listen, let's do an audit. Let's go over the last 6 months or last 12 months here. Let's look at how I'm doing. What cool stuff can I deduct? I'm looking at setting up this business or doing this. Like my CPA told me that I never go on, like I'm in Phoenix, Arizona here today, right? I'm flying off in a few hours to Las Vegas. My CPA told me I never go on vacation. Never. I go on location, not vacation, but location. When I'm on vacation, there's things I cannot write off. When I go on location, I can write things off because I'm on location, not vacation.
You're there for a specific business purpose, right?
Correct. So if I'm doing any kind of social media and I'm typing on social media, or I have somebody on my team doing social media, I'm on location, not vacation. That's why you see some of these celebrities, they're doing humanitarian trips and they're traveling and they're in the Bahamas, they're on private islands, they're on location. They're doing a photo shoot. They're doing some marketing. They're doing some offsite or some thing. They're on location, not vacation.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to surprise you here.
Sure. Well, this is great. Usually CPAs don't like surprises.
No, I love it. So you wrote a book too, Darren. It's called Until I Become. This is a surprise for you, but I actually ordered 15 copies from Amazon. and I'm going to give them out to the first 15 people that send us a request. Yeah, we'll have the link down there. You just click on that link, say, hey, I want a copy of Darren's book. It'll ask you for your name and your address, and we'll mail it out to you. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about that real quick, and then how people can get a hold of you if they need to?
Yeah, I'll just share really about Until I Become so I was labeled mentally retarded as a kid, and I failed grade 1 of public school and was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. And was determined by the public school system to put me into special education classes. So from grade 1 to grade 12, I was in special education. So I never went to regular school. So I had to learn to socialize with kids on the playground much differently than normal kids. And I had to learn to, think and study and learn as a kid much differently. And so growing up, I learned some very valuable life lessons. And, I went on as a kid who was labeled most likely not to ever succeed, never amount to much, probably never graduate from public high school, probably wouldn't even make it to my 20th birthday.
Wow.
To go on today to, being at NASDAQ twice during the closing bell. I serve on a board of directors of multiple companies today that I'm paid for. One of the companies I helped take from a startup to a multi-billion-dollar company today with over 75,000 people and 21 countries on 5 continents. We onboard a new person every 4 minutes into our company globally. That's one of many companies I'm involved with. So I've learned practical systems, strategies, structures. And so the book during COVID-19, during the lockdown, Tatiana, the love of my life, she's got 3 academic degrees. She's got a master's degree in education. She said, Darren, we need to take all this stuff out of your head, put it on paper and create a book and serve humanity with it. So people are going to love the book Until I Become, or they can go to untilibecome.com. What they're going to love about it is the book is less than 100 pages. Why? There's no fluff, there's no filler, there's no sizzle. You get the steak, not the sizzle in the book. It's a practical book, a how-to book, step by step, which people are going to love. And it's only been out for a couple months. It's gone global. It's been used in colleges, universities, schools, prison systems, corporations, organizations, businesses all over the world just in the last couple months. Why? Because it's the real deal.
That's awesome.
I always say to people, you don't need to read more books, but this book is different because you're going to discover things in this book that you've never heard before. I was just a couple nights ago speaking to a large university here in North America online. And I had a lot of students upset after the 2-hour training and development. They private messaged me through LinkedIn. They're upset. I'm like, why are you upset? Because the results that I delivered, the practical training I delivered in 2 hours, it was all about my book because the students are studying my book. But like, I spent all this money going to college and university, all this money, and I learned more in 2 hours of practical stuff for buying a book than I did spend all this money to get a formal educational degree. This is nonsense.
It's incredible. No, I love it, man.
So the universities invited me to come back because they were so impressed with the evaluations and the feedback. Why? Because I'm the real deal. I do this because I love people and I want to serve humanity. And I was never good enough as a kid, and now I've achieved a lot of success, and I want to pay it forward and pass it on and make a difference. Because to me, what it's about for me, what's in it for me, is about collecting the stories. I want people to stop me in an airport or on the street and say, "I read your book, and here's what's happened in my life. Here's what's now demonstrated in my life." That's the juice for me. Is when we wrote the book, Tech and I collaborated. I said, listen, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the juice worth the squeeze? And we want to make sure if we're going to build the book, the juice better be worth the squeeze. And it is.
Absolutely. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it. Like I said, we picked up a bunch of copies. We're going to give them out to first 15 people that reach out with the link that's below. Holly, let's order something for everyone in the company too, and we'll instate that as like a corporate training.
Can I share a little secret about reading? Because I was labeled with a learning disability and a reading disability growing up as a kid.
And now you're writing books. How isn't that funny, right?
Yeah. So here's the secret to reading a book. Just commit to reading 10 pages a day. It's easy to do, and it's also easy not to do, and that's the difference. Reading 10 pages a day is easy not to do. You just read 10 pages a day, and you know the numbers, times 365 days in a calendar year, that's 3,650 pages, which is 12 to 15 books a year cover to cover, just by reading 10 pages a day.
That's great. And I can honestly say, even from my own experiences, when I really started reading and in high school, and I didn't go to college either. So like, I don't think I ever read one book cover to cover throughout that entire period of time. It was not till I was almost 30 that I actually started reading books. And in 1 year, I read about 25 books on self-development, business, personality types, just all kinds of actual real life stuff. And that literally changed my life. So I love that.
It's a great thing to share that, because one of the intentions with the book Until I Become was I wanted the book to be passed down generationally. I wanted this book for you or Holly or anybody listening to say, my kids or my niece or nephews or people in my church, or people in my school, people in my community. I had a gentleman the other day in Los Angeles ordered books for all the kids in the neighborhood where he lives, in his cul-de-sac in Los Angeles. He was so moved by the book, he shared it with his kids, and he bought books for the kids in the neighborhood, because he says, you know what, if we make a difference in the community, and that's what it was about to me, is about getting collecting the stories of that, right? So you'll love this, because this book will make a huge difference in your life, and you'll want to pass on to your kids. And that to me is making a ripple of impact. Here's the secret to living is giving. That's the juice. The secret to living is giving.
I love it, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's just
great to be here.
A business associate and a really good friend. It really means a lot. So if people want to get a hold of you, is that where they should go, is untilibecome.com?
Yeah, untilibecome.com. You want to follow me on social media, it's Darren Jacklin or darrenjacklin.com. And you know, your book online or on Amazon, Until I Become or untilibecome.com. And I'm just here grateful to serve and make a difference.
I love it. Thank you so much. And once again, just you never know what you're going to get on this show. We talk about how to deduct a travel trailer, how to deduct a $400 million research vessel, or just how to change your life.
Location versus vacation.
Location versus vacation. I love it, man. I can't thank you enough. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Cool Shit You Can Deduct show. We'll talk to you soon. Hey everybody, if you enjoyed this show as much as we did, go ahead and like and comment below, ring that bell, and put in those comments. Tell us what your favorite part of today's show was. Can't thank you enough. We appreciate you being part of our group here. So thank you so much.